Écoute mon cœur, où es-tu maintenant? Il s'agit d'attendre toute ma vie.
Weapons are one of the key elements that you have when it comes to Souls-likes. Especially in Lies of P, it is extremely important that you have a weapon that it fits your playstyle, because there's just so much versatility when it comes to crafting your own weapon that fits that playstyle that you have. In this case, we want to have something that fits the playstyle of the predetermined builds that we want to have when we begin the game. So if you want to be a strength build, you want to be a technique one, or you want to have an advanced one, you have to have the most amazing weapons to help you throughout your journey. So in today's guide, I'm going to show you the best weapons for each and every one of those builds when you are just starting out, and all of these weapons you're going to be able to get them on the second and third area of the game. So in reality, you don't really have to wait that much to get all of these amazing weapons. We're also going to have a little bit of honorable mentions around here and there of weapons that are not going to be as early to get them, but they are still amazing choices if you do want to use them. And we're going to begin with the first one, which is one of my personal favorites. It's just, this thing, it's just melts down enemies all throughout the playthrough. And you're going to find it right here, inside a house on Elysian Boulevard. There's going to be a merchant that is going to sell this little bad boy, which is the electric coil stick here. And I think that you have seen quite a lot of people using this thing because it's just so freaking powerful. It has a V scaling in advance, it has electric damage, and also beyond that you can furthermore increase the scaling of this weapon all the way to A if you add a advanced handle. The thing is that it also has electric damage. And the electric shock damage, what that does is that it increases the amount of damage that you deal to the enemy. But not only that, it increases and enhances one of the most important mechanics that we have in Lies of P, which is the gourd bar, or the stagger mechanic. So when you're using this thing, you're not only going to be dealing more damage, but you're also going to be staggering enemies that more often. And the heavy charge attack of this thing, it's just going to require like a couple of hits for you to be able to stagger enemies. Trust me, I have been using this thing throughout my entire playthrough of my advanced playthrough. And this thing just melts. It just melts down enemies because of how fast you can stagger them with this thing. And the amazing thing also is that there are not so many enemies that are shocking resistance. So you only have like a very early game enemy and then a couple of them around here and there, but there really is not many enemies that are going to be resistant to this thing. And ideally, if you want to be using this thing with your Spectre as well, and you add electricity to your Spectre as well, that is just going to break things even more. This is a weapon that I advise for you to have during your entire playthrough, and I advise for you to level it up. Don't be afraid of using your materials by upgrading this weapon, because it's just that amazing, and it's something that you can get ASAP as soon as you start the game. Moving on, we're going to start on the very same place where we got that little thing, and now we're going to move over here to get a strength weapon. This is going to be a little bit trickier because you're going to have to fight a elite enemy, but it is an elite enemy that you have to encounter anyways. You can ignore him if he's being too annoying, and yes, he can be very annoying if you are just starting out the game. You haven't quite felt properly the game on itself. You're still feeling how that parry and dodge system works, but this guy right here is going to give you the Krat Police Baton. Now you will see that I did a little change in here, and the reason for that being is that this thing is not going to be that amazing when it comes to range. It's a rather short weapon, so that is one of the downsides of this thing. But as you can see, you have the motivity right there, which is V. If you add a strength handle or a motivity handle, that is going to be increased all the way towards A. what I like to do is that I add the Great Sword of the Fate blade. And this is the weapon that you would be getting as a starter weapon when you are starting a strength build. If you're going to be a strength build, then you might as well already have this thing. What this thing is going to do is that it is going to increase the range that you have to be able to deal damage with the enemies. One downside of this thing is that it only attacks a single target, so that is a bummer. But what I like to do when I am fighting several enemies is that I like to dodge, because the range is going to be amazing. And as you can see right here, it's going to attack in a wide arc. So that is going to make up for that little downside that you have right there. The amazing thing also is that the Fable art that you have while pressing the block and then the Fable art is going to increase the damage, and also you have the Link Slash, which is going to do tremendous amounts of posture damage, and it's going to deal that much more damage if you do have 4 Fable slots, because you can buff the weapon, and this goes amazingly good with the G upgrades that increases the amount of time that you have buffs from your Fable arts. So that is just a very, very powerful weapon, and this is something that you can be using throughout the entirety of the playthrough if you're going to be building a strength build. Now moving on to our dexterity weapon, or our technique weapon, it's going to be on the Workshop Union entrance. And the weapon that we are referring to is the Booster Glaive. I am in love with this weapon. One of my entire playthroughs was using this thing. I already have a build posted for this thing. It's just so amazing, and the way to get it, it's actually really fast. There's going to be a boss in here, and all of this is going to be covered by poison. You can just clean this thing up if you want to, but in reality it's just a very slow boss, so there really is no problem. So you can just run past all this thing and then grab it from here, and then immediately after you use your Moonface pocket watch to go back to the most recent stargazer that you have traveled to, and that is going to take you back to your safety where you can already have the weapon. Now this is going to have a B scaling on dexterity, B scaling on technique, but with a technique handle it can be increased all the way to A, and as you can see with a proper technique build, it can have a plus 134 scaling damage, which is just filthy. It's just amazing. I just love that. And one of the highlights of this weapon is the heavy attack, because it allows you to have so much, oh god, I was a very weird whip. It allows for you to have so much versatility because of the distance and safeness that this is going to provide. You can pair this thing up with your Aegis shield right here, which is going to take you back to safety every time that you use it, and then you go back, you get some safe distance right here, and you keep pushing the damage on the enemy. So it's just an amazing combo. It's very damaging, it's very mobile. As you can see right here, you can just cheese things by doing this right here, and it's just one of the highlights of the weapon, because it also has amazing reach. So if you're fighting several enemies, as you can see, the wide arc, it is a bit of a slow weapon for a dexterity or technique weapon, but the range on this thing, it's actually quite amazing. One thing that I like to do as well with this one is to change the blade, the Booster Glaive blade in here, by the Great Sword of the Fate blade again. And the reason for that being is that this thing adds more reach to this thing. So it's actually quite amazing. One of my favorite technique weapons, and I have done an entire playthrough just using this thing because it's just so amazing, and you can get it just as soon as this. On a similar fashion, we are going to remain just right here to get the dagger, which is going to be an advanced dagger, and it's really just a simple, it is quite invisible, it is goofy because it's hidden behind these little crates right there. There's going to be a couple of enemies in there, and the dagger is just going to be right here on this lockbox that you have right there. And the dagger, it's a fire element dagger. There are not so many enemies that are going to be resistant to fire elements. But once you apply the element on an enemy, it melts down the health bar of the enemy. So it's ideal for fighting bosses. It's also really fast, so you can be taking advantage of the status ailments that you have on the dagger. I'm not gonna lie, the weapon arts are not really that amazing, the fable arts are not really that amazing. The heavy attack, one thing that I do love about the dagger is that it's really fast. So you don't really have to be worrying about the stagger mechanic of the enemy saying, oh god, he's going to attack me, he's going to regain the stagger bar. You don't really have to worry about that, because it's just so fast, and like I said, not many enemies are going to be resistant to fire damage. And ideally, fire damage, if you combine it with different elements, it's just an amazing little something. Okay, promised, honorable mentions. And I say that these are honorable mentions because these are not early game weapons that you can be carrying throughout the entirety of the playthrough. You can be carrying them throughout the rest of the entirety of the playthrough, but you're going to have to find Alidoro first to be able to change boss souls or boss ergo to craft these weapons. And the one that I am talking about is the 7 coil spring sword and the etiquette. This bad boy, this is the one that I'm using for my motivity playthrough, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing weapon. It has tremendous reach, it deals tremendous amounts of damage, it's somehow fast for a heavy weapon. And this thing right here, it deals just tremendous amounts of posture damage. But also, if you are a player, a Elden Ring player, you will recognize this thing, which is amazing. It doesn't deal as much damage as the weapon that we have in Elden Ring for that, but it's just an amazing little something, and it's very fast on when it does that. And even then, if you do have the extra Fable slots right there that you got from the P organ, you can pad the damage. You can just be pairing with this thing and take advantage of that thing. And now that you're safe, you can be using this thing. And as you can see, it deals tremendous amounts of posture damage, so that's something that I love about the weapon. You're going to get from this weapon from the very first boss soul ergo, from the puppet here, the first puppet that you fight. That is the only thing that you're going to need for this one. This one is for the second boss, and what I love about this one is that, as you can see right there, this can reach a S on technique. It's very goofy, I'm not going to lie, it's just that. So but I think that it fits the style and the art style of the overall how the game looks. One amazing thing about this thing is that also the heavy attack, as you can see right there, the timing is a little bit weird, but you can actually do a perfect block with the heavy one, as you can see right there, so you receive no damage. Like I said, the timing is really weird, but it opens up right there. You also have the option to just do it right there immediately by spending 2 Fable slots, which is going to be giving you that much safetiness, and it's going to be that much faster. That deals posture damage as well, but the regular Fable attack, it's just that. And again, as you can see right there, it deals tremendous amounts of posture damage. And then again, the scaling that you get from this thing is going to be an S, and it's a very, very fast attacking weapon. It's a dagger, although it does have like this, I'd say that the game labels it as being a dagger, but I think that it is more safe to say that this is a rapier. So yeah, it's just an amazing weapon as well. And as soon as you unlock Alidoro, you're going to be able to get it, and it's the first S weapon that you're going to have access to. Anyways, if you like the content, like and never super appreciated. No one told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel before you close the door, and goodbye.
Écoute mon cœur, je t'attendrai même